Welcome to Between the Business Cards, a podcast that helps business professionals take their network and sales skills to the next level. And now, here are your hosts, Martina and Brandon Suba.
And we're here to bring you a bunch of fun tips, tricks, and good ideas and some bad ideas we've seen in the networking world. We are currently in our first season, and our main focus is I joined, now what? We've touched on one-to-ones. We've touched on finding a home if you're in the queue or if you joined and you have ambitions to find a group that you can meet with weekly.
Yep.
So this episode, we are going to talk about following up post one-to-ones. I have a feeling, no, we know that we're going to talk about follow-up with a lot of things that we talk about because credibility-wise, it's important, staying on top of things you've committed to. All of this falls under the follow-up game, but today's episode does specifically focus on the following up with one-to-ones.
Yes. Yeah. We talked about the one-to-ones. We talked about the importance of them. But as in a lot of things within sales, follow-up's really important because that's where those relationships go deeper and they don't feel like just an initial connection that just kicks it off and, you know, you're kind of hoping it goes somewhere. You actually have a little bit more control. You are more active with it, not passive.
Mm-hmm. And we are not perfect, as we are human beings, and sometimes the follow-up catches things that we may have missed, or a commitment that we did not follow up with. And so it's always good to just kind of keep a pulse on that. And with some of the points, we're going to talk more about that. Sure. So let's just jump right into some effective follow-up post a one-to-one. Okay, so the big thing is you do what you say you're going to do. I think that's in a lot of sales techniques. That's in a lot of motivational stories. But when you make a commitment in a one-to-one, your credibility is kind of on the line. Yeah. And it is so easy to say, oh my gosh, Martina, I know exactly who needs that service.
Yes.
I'm going to get you guys connected. And then we leave the one-to-one and I check my email and I get a phone call and then I get home and my kids have a soccer game and all those things happen. And it falls off. Now, what stinks is Martina could reach out and say, hey, Brandon, you forgot to do this.
Yeah.
Now, if it's something that Martina needs to complete a piece of her business, then it might happen. But if it's not, then it's kind of that false promise.
Right.
And again, I forgot, doesn't affect me, but it might be different on Martina's side.
Sure. And I mean, it's always beneficial when somebody is willing to reach out about that. However, you don't want to be in that position either because that doesn't feel super warm and fuzzy. That's like, oh shoot, I forgot about them. And you know, maybe it's somebody you've had a relationship with for a while, which is great, but if this is the very first initial interaction, you're really setting up that credibility piece. So I think it's important. If you say you're going to connect them with somebody, if you say you're going to get them a piece of information, if there's a book recommendation, if there's a quote on something, whatever that happens to look like following up with what you said is really important.
And right in line with that is find a way and commit to how you are going to follow up. I used to say I love text message, but I think, maybe it's because I'm getting older, I think email is actually my favorite way.
I'm kind of moving back that direction as well, especially if it's going to be more of a follow-up than just a quick, hey, it was great meeting with you, right? If it's going to be something that they need something or I need to connect them with someone, email is almost easier.
I think so.
So I don't know, that maybe is aging us, but
I'm sure, actually, I'm worried there might be ways of follow-up we don't even know now.
Right.
Because we try to stay young with our children's, but, they do cool things that we're just never going to understand.
Right.
But regardless, when you ask how you want that follow-up, you are now following treating the way they want to be treated. Plus, again, if someone follows up with me in text message, well, here's what I do. Here's why text message is tough for me. I will read it and then mark it as unread and then say I'm going to come back to it. Yeah. And I am not the person that cares if I have 10 notifications on an app. Are you?
I'm not either.
Okay. There are some people that clear them out and will not leave them. We're not those people, I guess.
Yeah. We're the ones that cause those people anxiety.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
But what
Sorry.
I found then too is I will go back and see that and be like, oh, I'll do that later. And then later becomes much later.
Right.
With emails, I seem to want to check those off much quicker now.
Okay.
And
I can see that.
kind of like you said, if I'm going through and I was going to make a connection, it's a lot easier for me to tap in an additional email, do a forward, and then boom, it's going and it's set to go. Where with the text message, you gotta look up the contact. And that sounds so old. This is so funny.
We do sound a little old. I know LinkedIn is really big with a lot of people. And so I know that when I have had one-to-ones with people that are really connected on LinkedIn, one of the very first things that they'll do is they'll add me as a contact. I think that's what the connection. A contact. Wow, we are really seeming old. And then they'll start that follow-up right on there as well. So I know that is a usable tool for people as well. I think it's managing those expectations.
Yep.
Okay. So how am I going to reach out? Hey, I'm going to send you a quick text next week, or I'll connect you with so-and-so via email, or let's connect on LinkedIn and see who we have in similar connection circles and things like that. Like there's different ways you can do it, but managing the expectations and also giving timeframes even, because if maybe they wanted a little bit more information about something that you talked about in the one-to-one, but it's going to take you a minute to check on it, or you know that you're really busy for like the next 2 days, it might be a good thing to say, hey, I'll get to this by the end of the week, and then make yourself a note on whatever thing helps you do that so that you don't forget to do that, but it also manages those expectations so they're not expecting something from you in the next 2 hours after your meeting, and you stepped from that meeting into 3 other meetings and haven't been able to get to them, and then they feel like you dropped it.
But then it does open it up if they needed that quicker, because I think sometimes I make assumptions and then they're like, oh no, I need that by the end of today. Oh yeah, I can go out of my I'm fine going out of my way and making that happen if requested. I think as sales professionals, as business owners, that's kind of a mindset, right? Like, if my deadline's here, I'll hit it.
Right.
But again, when you ask, at least you can know.
Right.
So you're not going to drop the ball unknowingly just because you didn't ask.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, maintaining connections. This is one Martina threw out, and I was actually never really thought of it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. So jump on in on this one, maintaining the connection.
So you don't want anything, and I always talk about people visiting chapters and they just confetti business cards. Well, you don't want the one-to-one to seem like that either. Like I met with this person and, that was that, and it's pretty easy to do that, especially in this very busy world that we all live in. It's very easy to go from that one meeting and jump into something else and say, well, that was nice and that person was nice, but then that didn't actually establish what you were hoping to create in that one-to-one, which was that connection that then led to other things. And sometimes you don't know somebody to connect them with right away, but the more you maintain that connection, the more top of mind you stay. So you don't sit in a chapter with that person every single week. I mean, you have one-to-ones with those people too, but if you don't happen to see that person often, it is a good idea to reach out in some way, shape, or form, whether it's quarterly or monthly or whenever you think about them, and send them something that's like, hey, I thought of you today when I saw this, or clarify maybe something that they talked about in their one-to-one where you were like, hey, do you happen to work with this type of a thing? Because maybe they brought something up, but they didn't deep dive into it, and you're just kind of wondering if that would be a good connection for them. Anything little like that can be helpful. We even have one gal who's really great at this. She puts them on their Christmas card list.
Oh, and I know who you're speaking of.
And so she's really committed to that. I don't add everyone to my Christmas card list, but there are a variety of ways to maintain those connections. And if you ever ran into, her name's Jessica, but if you ever ran into Jessica, she would tell you why she does that. And it's because she wants to maintain those connections. She wants to circle back and make sure that it wasn't just a brief meeting at a coffee shop one time in October. It was something that meant a little bit more and could potentially lead to something in the future.
And going back to when you said you do meet with the people in your chapter, there are going to be some people in your group that you're going to meet with consistently. Sure. Usually they are within the same category of business, or you guys refer back and forth. And I think it is good to do some businesses could do weekly or monthly check-ins because of the activity that you can produce with the other person. Yeah. Now, that being said, there are going to be people in your group that it's a pretty big gap between you being in front of their referral partners and vice versa, and you're not going to produce a lot of business. that's maybe a quarterly meeting. Or one trick I used to do is I would take the roster and make it a point to at least once a week hit somebody on the roster, and then once completed, start over again. Did I meet with some people a couple times more? Absolutely, if we had rhyme or reason to. But it was just really having that cadence of going through and making sure you do a one-to-one with each individual. Because I would love to say that we hear everything that happens in a meeting and we've heard every referral request you've ever given, but that's not the case.
Sure.
And it is not uncommon when you sit down one-to-one, even if it's maybe the third or fourth, something new comes up. Or let's not lie, there's new stuff with our business all the time. This is a great opportunity to be like, hey, I know it's been a couple months, but I have something new to share with you. And I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Another way to maintain those connections is maybe, always ask before you add them to a newsletter or anything like that. But maybe they would love to hear more from your company, keep you a little top of mind, but have you kind of in the background end of things. That's probably more for people that you aren't seeing all of the time. Then we kind of talked about, are you ready to go into the tracking progress part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about maybe even looking back over the one-to-ones that you have done in the last, 6 months, a year, whatever, and almost doing a one-to-one audit. Like, hey, this was a really great one that I sat down to, but I haven't talked to Angie in 4 months. And I just want to touch base real fast. That's a really easy way to decide how to do those maintaining connection follow-ups, but also a great way for you to track your progress of meeting people and how you are, continuously investing in that network that you have developed.
And if you did forget to do something for somebody, if you go back and look at the people you met, or I do love in the hub, they're listed. It is so easy to do a quick audit with your one-to-ones. When you go in there and you submit the most recent, you look back, make sure that you've covered and submitted the others or accepted the others. Because in the hub, you have to go and accept when a one-to-one has been submitted, which I really do love that feature too. And that's for a whole nother podcast day, things that I've seen in the world of one-to-ones. But again, going through and doing that audit, if you see Martina and you're like, oh no, I told Martina I'd send her this book that I absolutely fell in love with and she was so excited. Well, now this is going to be your friendly reminder. And I don't know, Martina, would you be mad if I text you or emailed you like a few weeks later, be like, hey, sorry about the book recommendation, here it is.
Well, that book was going to change my life and you dropped the ball. No, I mean, I would not be upset. I would be like, great, because it probably wasn't going to be something that I was able to get to immediately anyway. Right. And so, I add it to my Audible, let's be honest, and away we go. So.
But again, and that's understanding expectations. If someone needs it right away, really make that a top priority. Write it on your hand, write it on your forehead, whatever you got to do. But that's going to keep your credibility good. And it could lead to much more business with that same person because they know that you're going to be quick when you need them to be.
Awesome.
All right, that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah,
we kind of split the one-to-ones up a little bit. So that is covering one-to-ones with the follow-up. Please share, do what you can to get this podcast out to other people. If they're out of the network, this might be a great opportunity for them to see how this could benefit their business. You have one-to-ones even if you're not in a professional organization. Sure. We meet with people all the time, and all of these are great tips and tricks, I feel, just to keep a good relationship in the business world.
Absolutely.
All right, well, with that, thank you so much for listening or watching, and we will talk to you on a future podcast.
Have a good day.